At 6 o'clock in the morning, my front door began to shake. My daughter-in-law was screaming my name, hysterical, as if the house belonged to her. I had changed all the locks the night before. Minutes later, my son showed up with a sledgehammer in his hand. "I'm going to get in anyway," he yelled. But as he raised his arm to strike, a voice behind me simply said, "Hold on, I'll take care of it." The door opened, and what they saw on the other side left them pale. The pounding echoed like war drums. Each blow shook not only the wood of the entry, but something deep inside my chest. Tanya, my daughter-in-law, was shouting in that high-pitched voice I knew all too well. "Mary, open this damn door. What do you think you're doing? This house is as much mine as it is yours." I was on the other side, barefoot on the cold tile of my living room, my heart pounding so hard I could feel the pulse in my temples. My hands were trembling. Not from fear, from something worse. Rage, contained for 3 months. Rage that had silently fermented into something cold and calculated. I looked at the wall clock, the one my late Edward bought in Santa Fe 30 years ago. 6 o'clock, 7 minutes. Mr. Peterson, the lawyer, would arrive in 20 minutes. I just had to hold out. "Mum?" Now it was the voice of Robert, my son, my only son. "I know you're in there. Open up right now." I heard a different, metallic, heavy thud, and then his voice, but with a tone I had never heard before. "I'm getting in anyway. With a door or without a door." I peered through the peephole. Robert was holding a sledgehammer, one of those used in construction. His eyes were bloodshot. Tanya, next to him, had her arms crossed and a twisted smile on her lips, a smile of anticipated victory. My legs felt weak. Was this how everything was going to end? My son, the baby I nursed, the one I cared for when he had pneumonia at age 7, the one I helped pay for his first motorcycle. Was he going to knock down my door? Then, a deep voice resonated behind me. "Hold on, I'll take care of it." I turned my head. Mr. Peterson was standing in the hallway in his impeccable grey suit with a leather briefcase in his hand. He had arrived early, much earlier than agreed. "How did you get in?" I whispered. "Through the back door, Mrs. Mary, just as you instructed last night." He looked at me with those calm eyes that conveyed authority. "Open the door for them. It's time for them to see what they've lost." My hand went to the deadbolt. I slid it open slowly. I turned the knob. The door opened, and the moment Robert and Tanya saw Mr. Peterson standing there, with his imposing presence and his steel gaze, the sledgehammer fell to the floor with a dull thud. They both turned pale, literally, as if they had seen a ghost, because they knew exactly who that man was, and they knew that their plan had just crumbled. But before I tell you how I came to change the locks on my own house to protect myself from my son, I need you to understand something. I wasn't always this woman. The Mary who opened that door with steady hands didn't exist 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I was someone else, a fool, a naive woman, a mother who believed that love could conquer everything. If you want to know how a 68-year-old woman went from being the perfect victim to slamming the door in her own family's face, subscribe to this channel. Because what comes next will change the way you see a mother's love forever. Mr. Peterson didn't smile. He didn't need to. His mere presence was enough to change all the energy of that threshold. He took a step forward, positioning himself right beside me, and spoke with that voice that had terrified 100 scammers in court. "Good morning, Robert. Tanya." He paused deliberately. "I regret to inform you that you no longer have the legal authority to enter this property without the express consent of the owner." Tanya was the first to react. Her face went from pallor to intense red in a matter of seconds. Who the hell do you think you are? We live here. We have a right. The lawyer opened his briefcase with exasperating calm. He took out a thick manila folder and extracted several documents. The sound of the paper was the only thing that could be heard, besides my son's ragged breathing. I am Arthur Peterson, attorney at law, notary public number 47 of New York City. And these, he lifted the papers, mean that as of 11:45 o'clock p.m., yesterday, March 15th, this property located at 328 Elm Street, Riverdale, was transferred to an irrevocable trust in the name of Mrs. Mary Elizabeth Sanders, widow of Cortez. Robert finally found his voice. It sounded broken, desperate. Mum, what did you do? I looked at him. I really looked at him. And in that moment, I saw the scared child who used to hide behind me when his father scolded him. But I also saw the man who, 2 weeks ago, had told his wife that I had lived long enough. What I should have done 3 months ago, Robert, I said, was protect myself. Tanya let out a hysterical laugh. Protect yourself. But we take care of you. We give you company. Without us, you'd be alone, dying in this huge house. Mr. Peterson interrupted her without raising his voice. Ma'am, I suggest you measure your words. Everything you say at this moment can and will be used against you if Mrs. Mary decides to proceed legally. Legally? Robert stepped forward. But I invested in this house. I paid for the roof repair. I put money toward the new cistern. That house is as much mine as it is hers. There it was. The lie they had been feeding for 3 months. The lie they had repeated so many times that I almost believed it. The lawyer smiled for the first time. It was a small, almost imperceptible smile, but it was there. Oh, really? Interesting. Because according to the bank records that Mrs. Mary provided me, the roof was repaired last August with $87,000 that she withdrew from her personal account. The cistern was installed in October, also paid for her, for an amount of $52,000. Would you like me to continue? Robert opened his mouth. He closed it. He opened it again. He looked like a fish out of water. Tanya changed tactics. She put her hands to her chest, and tears began to stream down her cheeks. Tears she had perfected over these 3 months. Mother-in-law, Mary, I don't understand. We are family. How can you do this to us, after everything we've shared? Something broke inside me. But it wasn't my heart. It was the last chain of guilt that tied me to this charade. Family? My voice came out stronger than I expected. You talk to me about family, Tanya? The same family that sold my late husband's China dinnerware for $8,000? The same family that conned me out of $120,000 by lying about an illness to pay for a nose job? Her face crumpled. The tears kept falling, but now they were tears of panic. I was sick. The doctors at the Monteverde Plastic Surgery Clinic, right? The lawyer pulled out another document. I have the receipt right here. Cosmetic rhinoplasty, $115,000, paid on January 18th, 3 days after you received the money from Mrs. Mary. Robert turned to his wife with an expression I had never seen on him. Confusion, anger, fear. Is that true? Tanya backed up a step. You knew that? Robert, don't make me look bad. I knew? My son's voice went up 3 octaves. I knew you stole from my mother? There was the crack, the first fissure in their perfect alliance. The lawyer seized the moment. You have 48 hours to completely vacate this property. You may take your personal belongings, clothes, electronic items that you can prove are yours, and nothing else. Any item belonging to Mrs. Mary that is removed without authorization but will be considered theft, and legal action will be taken. You can't kick us out, Tanya screamed. We have kids, Valerie and James. Where are we going to live? For the first time in the conversation, the lawyer seemed genuinely annoyed. Perhaps you should have thought of that before you planned to put those children's grandmother in a cheap nursing home, to sell her house and buy an apartment in Manhattan. The silence that followed was so dense it could be cut with a knife. Robert looked at me. His eyes were glazed over. How did you know that? I reached into the pocket of my robe and pulled out a small digital recorder, the one my neighbor Connie had taught me how to use. I placed it in the palm of my hand and pressed play. Tanya's voice came out clear, sharp, unmistakable. It's almost done, my love. In a few more months, we'll convince her to sign the house over to you. She's old, alone, she needs us. Then we can put her in a cheap nursing home and sell this property. It's easily worth $4 million. We'll have enough for the apartment in Manhattan we want. And then Robert's voice. You're right. My mum has lived long enough. We deserve this house. I stopped the recording. Robert fell to his knees on the front step. Literally. His legs wouldn't hold him anymore. Mum, I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I said with a calm that surprised even me. You said it, you thought it, and you were going to do it. Tanya regained her composure with impressive speed. She pointed a finger at Robert. This was his idea. I just followed his plan. He convinced me of everything. And right there, before my eyes, I watched them destroy each other. Robert jumped up and confronted her. What? You were the one who said my mother was a burden? You were the one who wanted the luxury apartment? The lawyer closed his briefcase with a dry snap. Folks, your marital problems are none of my business. What is my business is to inform you that you have until Wednesday, March 17th, at 6:00 p.m. to leave this property. If you do not do so voluntarily, we will proceed with legal eviction. Have a good day. He turned and walked back into the house. I followed him. And before closing the door, I looked at Robert one last time. My son, my only son, was crying silently on the step of the house where I raised him. And I felt nothing. Well, no, that's a lie. I felt relief. I closed the door and slid the bolt. Mr. Peterson looked at me from the hallway. Are you all right, Mrs. Mary? I nodded slowly. Then I sat down on the living room sofa, the one where Edward used to read me poems on Sunday afternoons, and for the first time in 3 months, I took a deep breath. But you must be wondering, how did it all get to this point? How does a mother come to corner her own son, planning his banishment? To understand that, I have to take you back 3 months. To the day I opened the door of my house and let in not only my son and his family, but my own destruction. It was a Tuesday, December 12th. I remember it because that day I had gone early to the farmer's market to buy fresh flowers for the Virgin Mary statue. It had just turned 11 o'clock in the morning when my phone rang. Mum? Robert's voice sounded strange, subdued. Son, what happened? Are you okay? I need to talk to you. Can I come over? It's urgent. My heart skipped a beat. When a son says something is urgent, a mother imagines the worst. Accidents, illnesses, death. Of course, my love. Come whenever you want. Do you want me to make some turkey sandwiches? No, Mum. I just need to talk to you. He hung up before I could say anything else. He arrived at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He wasn't alone. Tanya was with him, and behind them, Valerie and James were carrying large backpacks that looked full to bursting. Hello, mother-in-law, Tanya said, with that smile that I then believed was genuine. Sorry for coming without calling. No, don't worry. Come in. Do you want water? Coffee? The children ran off toward the backyard. Valerie was 12 and James was 9. Good kids. Always polite. Though lately I saw them less and less. Robert sat on the sofa and ran his hands over his face. That gesture he had made since he was a child when he was nervous. Mum, we lost the apartment. The words dropped like stones into a well. What do you mean you lost it? Tanya sat next to him and took his hand. At that moment I thought, how good that they have each other in difficult times. How stupid I was. We had problems with the bank, Robert explained without looking me in the eye. We couldn't pay the mortgage for 3 months and, well, they foreclosed. They gave us 2 weeks to move out. I put my hand to my chest. My son. My Robert. Homeless. But why didn't you tell me sooner? I could have helped. We didn't want to worry you, mother-in-law, Tanya interjected sweetly. You've already done so much for us. We didn't want to be a burden. You're never a burden. You are my family. Robert finally looked at me. His eyes were red. Mum, I need to ask you a huge favor. The biggest one I've ever asked you in my life. Anything, son. Whatever you need. Can we stay here? Just temporarily. While we find another place. Maybe 2 or 3 months maximum. My house had 4 bedrooms. Since Edward died 5 years ago, I had lived alone in this huge space that suddenly felt too big, too silent. The idea of having my family near, of hearing children's laughter, of cooking for more than one person. Of course, you can stay, as long as you need. Tanya jumped up and hugged me. She smelled of expensive perfume, too expensive for someone who had just lost their home. Thank you, mother-in-law. You don't know how much this means to us. The children shouted with joy when they were told they would stay with Grandma. James ran up and hugged my waist. Can I stay in the room with the stars on the ceiling, Grandma? It was the room that Edward had decorated for when Robert was little. He had pasted glow-in-the-dark stickers. My grandson remembered them from the few times they had come to visit me. Of course, my sweetie. That same afternoon they started bringing their things. Boxes, many boxes, more than could fit in an SUV. Robert had rented a small moving truck. Is all this necessary? I asked, seeing the quantity of items. Well, we don't know how long we'll be staying, Mum. We prefer to have everything handy. It made sense, or at least I thought so. The first week was nice. I cooked for everyone. The children did their homework at the dining room table. Robert left early to look for work. Tanya stayed home. She said it was to watch the children, even though they were quite old to need a babysitter. But there were small things, things that at the time I ignored. Tanya moved the living room furniture to make more space. Edward's armchair, the one where he spent hours reading, ended up shoved in the garage. It's just too worn out, mother-in-law. It looks ugly there. She replaced the bath towels with new ones that she bought. Mine, hand-embroidered by my mother, she stored in a box. These are more modern. You have to update, mother-in-law. She started cooking too, but not food that I liked. Different food, with spices I had never used. And when I tried to cook something traditional, she would sigh. Oh, mother-in-law, so much fat isn't good for anyone. One day, 2 weeks after they arrived, I went down for breakfast and found that the dining room curtains had disappeared. Where are the curtains? I asked. Tanya was making a smoothie in the blender. She didn't even turn around. I took them down. They blocked the natural light. Your house was very dark, mother-in-law. It needed brightness. I had sewn those curtains myself. It took me 3 weeks to finish them. They had an embroidered bird design that my mother taught me to do. But I liked those curtains. They were very old, mother-in-law. It was time for a change. Robert came in at that moment and kissed Tanya on the cheek. Good morning, Mum. Did you sleep well? Son, did you see that Tanya took down the dining room curtains? Oh, yeah. They look better like this, don't they? More illuminated. But I made them. It took me a long time. Robert poured himself coffee with a distracted smile. Mum, don't be so sentimental. They're just curtains. Tanya has good taste. You should trust her more. I stayed silent, standing in the kitchen of my own house, feeling like I was the one who was out of place. You're right, I finally said. Just curtains. Tanya smiled at me, that smile that I still believed was kind. That's what I like, mother-in-law. Be flexible. Change is good. That night, lying in bed, I looked at the ceiling and thought of Edward. How he always used to say, Mary, you are too kind. Someday someone is going to take advantage of that. But this was different, right? It was my family, my son, my grandchildren. They couldn't be taking advantage of me. Or could they? What I didn't know at that moment was that the curtains were just the beginning. Tanya hadn't come to my house to stay temporarily. She had come to make it hers. And every day that passed, I disappeared a little more, until there was almost nothing left of me. The real change began in the 3rd week. Tanya walked into my bedroom without knocking. I was folding laundry when I saw her standing in the doorway with that expression I was starting to know all too well. Determination disguised as concern. Mother-in-law, we need to talk about this room. My room? What's wrong with it? She walked in and looked around, touching things. The antique mahogany dresser, the mirror with the gold frame, the photograph of my wedding on the wall. It's too full, too cluttered. It's not healthy for you to have so much mess. I looked around. My room wasn't messy. Everything was in its place. Every object had a history. It's not messy, Tanya. It's lived in. Exactly, that's the problem. She sat down on my bed as if it were hers. You live in the past, surrounded by things from your husband who is no longer here. It's not healthy. You need to let go, move on. Her words hurt like a slap. Edward was my husband for 42 years. I'm not going to let go of his memories. I'm not asking you to forget them, mother-in-law. Just to put them away. To make space for the present. For us. The next day, while I was out at church, Tanya rearranged the living room. When I returned, the photographs of Edward that were on the mantelpiece had disappeared. In their place were scented candles and an artificial plant. Where are Edward's photos? I put them away in a box in your closet, mother-in-law. That way they're more protected from the dust. I don't want them protected from the dust. I want to see them. Tanya sighed with that exaggerated patience used with small children. Mother-in-law, you can't turn your house into a shrine. Your husband is resting in peace. You need to live. I went to my closet. I found the box. But not all the photos were there. My favorite was missing. Edward and I in Hawaii on our honeymoon. He was carrying me in his arms while the waves wet our feet. Tanya, a photo is missing. Which one? The Hawaii one. The one with the silver frame. Oh, that one. It fell and the glass broke. I threw it away. You threw it away? The frame was tarnished anyway, mother-in-law. It was no longer any good. I felt something shatter inside my chest. Not the frame. Me. That night Robert came home late. I waited up for him. Son, I need to talk to you. Mum, I'm tired. Can it be tomorrow? No, it has to be now. He slumped onto the sofa with an annoyed sigh. All right. What's wrong? Tanya is throwing away your father's things. She changed the whole house, and I feel like a stranger in my own home. Robert didn't even look me in the eye. He kept looking at his cell phone. Mum, Tanya is just trying to help. This house was very neglected, very old-fashioned. It's my house, Robert, and I liked it the way it was. Well, maybe you needed someone to show you that there are other ways to live. He finally looked up. Do you know what your problem is, Mum? You cling too much to the past. Dad died 5 years ago. It's time for you to move on. His words pierced me like knives. Does moving on mean forgetting your father? It means stopping living in a museum. He stood up. Tanya is trying to modernize things. You should be grateful that someone cares about you. And he went to sleep. I stayed seated in the darkness of the living room with Tanya's scented candles perfuming the air with a smell that wasn't my home's. And for the first time since they moved in, I cried. But the worst was yet to come. A week later, Tanya walked into the kitchen with a huge smile. Mother-in-law, I have wonderful news. I hired a deep cleaning company. They're coming tomorrow to leave everything spotless. Cleaning company? But I clean the house. Oh, mother-in-law, with all due respect, you clean the old way. We need a professional disinfection. Don't worry, I'll pay. The next day, 3 people arrived in uniforms with industrial cleaning products. Tanya directed them like a war general. Those pieces of furniture in the garage, take them to the trash. Those boxes over there too. And that old display cabinet, please take it out. Wait, I ran toward them. That cabinet belonged to my grandmother. You can't throw it away. It's full of moths, mother-in-law. It's a nest of bugs. I don't care. It's from my family. Tanya made a gesture of exasperation. All right, we'll leave it. But at least let them take out all that old stuff from the garage. I didn't pay attention to exactly what they took out of the garage. Fatal mistake. 2 days later, I looked for Edward's vinyl record collection. The jazz records he collected for 30 years. The ones we used to play on Sunday afternoons while he hugged me in the kitchen and sang in my ear. They weren't there. Tanya, where are Edward's records? The records? Oh, mother-in-law, the cleaners threw those away. They were scratched. Some of them couldn't even be played. They threw them away? Yes, but don't worry. Now there's Spotify. You can listen to any song you want. I sat on the garage floor. Right there, where Edward's armchair once was, where his records once were, his memories, our life, and I cried like I hadn't cried since his funeral. Tanya appeared in the doorway. Oh, mother-in-law, don't be so dramatic. They're just things, just objects. But they weren't just objects. They were pieces of my life, pieces of Edward, pieces of me. And she was throwing them in the trash, one by one. That night I told Connie, my lifelong neighbour. She was 72 and a widow like me. We sat in her garden with hot tea. Mary, that woman is erasing you, she said with her characteristic frankness. She's erasing your history to write hers. But she's my daughter-in-law, my son's wife. And that makes her more dangerous because she comes with a family label. And you, out of respect for your son, endure what you wouldn't endure from a stranger. Her words kept swirling in my head all night. The next day, Tanya painted the living room, without warning, without asking. When I came back from the market, the walls that had been peach for 20 years were now dark grey. Do you like it? She asked proudly. It's the trendy colour. It looks very elegant. Edward and I chose that peach. We spent a whole weekend painting it together. Well, now it's grey. Peach was out of style, mother-in-law. You have to update. Robert arrived and applauded. Wow, it looks amazing, honey. Very modern. Your mother isn't happy, Tanya said with a victim's voice. Robert looked at me with disappointment. Mum, seriously, Tanya is making an effort to improve the house, and all you do is complain. I didn't ask for it to be improved. I liked it the way it was. Well, nobody else liked it. It was depressing. That word. Depressing. As if my life with Edward had been depressing. I went to my room without eating dinner, and that night, lying in the dark, I realized something terrible. I no longer recognized my own house. The walls, the furniture, the smells, everything was different. Everything belonged to Tanya, and I was becoming a tenant in my own home. But if you thought losing my memories was the worst thing Tanya did to me, you were wrong. Because what came next wasn't just stealing objects, it was stealing something much more valuable. And when I found out, I understood that my daughter-in-law wasn't just manipulative. She was a thief. And my son, my own son, knew it. It was a Thursday afternoon, January 18th. I remember the exact date, because it would have been Edward's 43rd birthday if he had still been alive. I always put fresh flowers on his photograph that day, but his photograph was no longer in the living room. It was stored in a box in my closet. I went down to the kitchen to make myself some tea. I needed something to calm me down. I hadn't slept well the last few days. Nightmares where my house kept getting smaller and I couldn't find the way out. Tanya was in the dining room with her laptop open. She was talking on the phone with someone. Yes, I still have it. It's authentic English bone china, the antique kind. It has 24-carat gold details. A pause. No, it's not stolen. It's from my family. Another pause. $8,000 is too little. It's worth at least $15,000. I approached. On her laptop screen were photographs of my dinnerware, the china set Edward gave me for our 30th anniversary. He had bought it on a business trip to San Francisco. He had saved for months to pay for it. Each plate had hand-painted cherry blossoms. Each cup had a gold rim, the complete set. 12 soup plates, 12 dinner plates, 12 cups with their saucers. We never used it. It was too valuable. I kept it in the dining room cabinet just to admire it. Tanya, my voice came out shaky. What are you doing? She looked up with a calm smile. Too calm. Oh, mother-in-law, I'm selling the china set. Selling? My dinnerware? Well, technically it's in your house, but nobody uses it. It's just collecting dust, and we urgently need the money. I felt the floor move beneath my feet. Edward gave me that set. It's not for sale. Mother-in-law, be reasonable. They're just dishes, and we're in a very difficult situation. Robert hasn't found work. The children need new school supplies. The rent for the storage unit where we keep our things is due next week, and we don't have the money to pay it. And for that, you're going to sell my things? They're not just your things, mother-in-law. We're family. What's yours is ours. That's how families work. My hands were trembling. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel the pulse in my ears. Cancel that sale. Now. Tanya closed the laptop with a dramatic sigh. Do you know what your problem is, mother-in-law? You're selfish. We take you in, we take care of you, we give you company so you're not alone in this huge house, and you can't even help us when we need it most. What are you going to do with those dishes? Look at them until you die. Her words hit me like punches. It's not selfishness. It's my history. It's what Edward left me. Edward is dead, mother-in-law. The dead don't need dishes. The living need money to eat. Just then, Robert walked in. He was carrying a bag of donuts. What's going on? I can hear shouting from outside. Your mother doesn't want us to sell the china set, Tanya said, in the voice of a scolded child. She'd rather her grandchildren go hungry than part with some old dishes. Robert looked at me with that expression that broke my soul. Disappointment, tiredness, annoyance. Mom, seriously, you're going to make a scene over some dishes? They're not just dishes. They're the anniversary gift your father gave me. And I'm sure Dad would prefer his grandchildren to eat than to have dishes put away that nobody uses. He walked over to Tanya and put a hand on her shoulder. Sell the dinnerware, honey. My mum will understand. I won't understand. You have no right. Tanya stood up with tears in her eyes. Perfect tears that rolled right down the center of her cheeks without ruining her makeup. You know what, mother-in-law? You're right. We have no right to anything. We're just a burden to you. Robert, you heard your mother. We're not welcome here. We better pack our things and leave. What does it matter if the kids sleep in a shelter? At least mother-in-law's dishes will be safe. Honey, don't say that. Robert hugged her and looked at me sternly. Mum, see what you're doing. See how you're hurting her. I couldn't believe it. Somehow I was the villain in the story. Robert, that dinnerware means a lot to me. Well, to us, it means being able to eat, my son shouted. He had never yelled at me like that. But don't worry, Mum. We won't touch your precious dinnerware. We won't touch anything. In fact, we better leave so you can live alone with your memories and your things and without anyone bothering you. He started walking toward the stairs. Tanya followed him, sobbing. The children appeared in the hallway, looking scared. What's wrong, Dad? James asked in a small voice. Nothing, son. We're going to pack. Your grandmother wants us to leave. I didn't say that, I screamed, but nobody heard me. 2 hours passed. 2 hours during which I heard movement upstairs, boxes being dragged, doors closing, Valerie's soft crying. And I, sitting in the kitchen, with my hands trembling on the table, wondered how I had reached this point. Finally, Robert came down, alone. Tanya is upstairs packing. The kids are confused and scared. I hope you're proud of yourself. Robert, I just asked you not to sell your father's dinnerware. And what did you want us to do, Mum? Beg on the street? Stop eating? He sat down across from me with tears in his eyes. I thought you were different. I thought you would understand. But it turns out you're like all the other selfish old women who only think about their things and not their family. Those words, selfish old women, my own son. All right, I whispered. Let her sell the dinnerware. What? Let her sell it. If that's what you need, let her sell it. Robert blinked in surprise. Then his face softened, and he took my hands. Mum, I knew you would understand. Thank you. Thank you. I promise that when I get a job, I'll buy you another set just like it. He ran upstairs shouting, Honey, my mum said yes, we can stay. That night, lying in bed, I looked at the empty display cabinet in the dining room. Tanya had packed the dinnerware immediately, as if she were afraid I would change my mind. $45,000 that dinnerware was worth. I know because when Edward died, an appraiser came to take inventory for the will. $45,000 in memories, in love, in years of marriage, and my daughter-in-law was going to sell it for $8,000. The next day, Tanya left early. She returned 6 hours later with bags of new clothes, designer jeans, expensive blouses, fancy shoes. Did you manage to sell the dinnerware? I asked. Yes, mother-in-law, thank goodness. With this, we were able to pay the storage unit rent, but the bags in her hands told another story. Tanya, those bags. Oh, this. Well, I found some incredible sales, a 2-for-1. I couldn't resist. You bought clothes with the money from my dinnerware? Not all the clothes. I also paid the rent. And I bought school supplies for the kids. And well, I deserved a little treat. Don't you think? I've been very stressed. She went to her room, whistling a song. And I stood there, in my dark grey living room, with my bare walls, with my empty display cabinet, finally understanding the truth. They hadn't come to stay temporarily. They had come to take everything. But if they thought stealing my memories and belongings was enough to destroy me, they were wrong, because Tanya had a much more elaborate plan. A plan that involved lies, fake hospital visits, and $120,000 that I would give her voluntarily. Because when a snake identifies its prey, it doesn't stop until it completely devours it. 2 weeks after the dinnerware incident, Tanya started acting strange. Stranger than usual. She got up late. She walked around the house with a hand on her forehead, sighing deeply. She left her food half-eaten, saying she had no appetite. And every time someone asked her what was wrong, she responded with a dramatic, "Nothing, nothing, I'll be fine." But she said it in that way that screams, "Ask me more, please, ask me." It was Valerie who finally fell into the trap. "Mum, are you sick?" Tanya put a hand to her chest, and her eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to worry you, my love. I just have some strange symptoms, but it's probably nothing serious." Robert got up from the table, alarmed. "What kind of symptoms?" "Dizziness, nausea, and, well, I've been bleeding a little." She lowered her voice as if it were a terrible secret. "From places it shouldn't be." My heart skipped a beat. Despite everything, I didn't wish harm on anyone, much less a serious illness. "Tanya, you have to go to the doctor," I said immediately. "I can't, mother-in-law. We don't have medical insurance now that we lost our jobs, and a private specialist consultation costs a fortune." "It doesn't matter what it costs. Your health is more important." Tanya looked at me with those big, bright eyes, as if I were her savior. "Really, mother-in-law? Would you help us with that?" "Of course. We'll make an appointment tomorrow." That night, I heard Robert and Tanya talking in their room. Their voices came through the crack in the door. "I told you it would work," Tanya whispered. "Your mother has a chicken heart. You just need to scare her a little." I couldn't hear Robert's reply, but I didn't want to believe it either. I must have misunderstood. The next day, Tanya showed me the name of a clinic. St. Lucy's Specialized Medical Center. It sounded prestigious, expensive. "Dr. Melger is the best oncologist in the city," she said in a trembling voice, "but his consultations cost $3,500. "It's okay, I'll pay." I went with her to the appointment, but when we arrived, she asked me to wait outside. "Mother-in-law, it's just, these are very intimate tests. I'm embarrassed to have you there. Do you mind waiting in the waiting room?" "Of course not, honey, go ahead." I waited 2 hours. 2 hours looking at old magazines in a spotless waiting room with marble floors and expensive ornamental plants. When she came out, her eyes were red from crying so much. "What did the doctor say?" I asked, jumping up. "I need tests, many tests. MRI, CT scan, specialized blood work." Her voice broke. "And a biopsy. My God, they don't know yet. That's why they need the tests. But the doctor said the faster we do them, the better." She took my hands. "Mother-in-law, I know it's a lot to ask. I know we've already abused your generosity, but I'm scared. So scared." "How much do the tests cost?" $120,000. She said the figure as if it were a death sentence. "It's a lot of money. Too much. We have no way to pay for it. Maybe I can wait a few months until Robert finds a job." You can't wait if it's something serious. We're going to the bank right now. Tanya hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Thank you, mother-in-law. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me, to my children. We went to the bank that same afternoon. I sold 2 small pieces of land I had in rural Pennsylvania, land that Edward had bought, thinking about building a country house someday. Land that was worth more than $120,000. But I sold them quickly without haggling, because a human life is worth more than any property. I handed the money to Tanya in a manila envelope. God bless you, honey, and may everything turn out okay. She cried in my arms, tears that I then believed were genuine. For the next 2 weeks, Tanya left early to have the tests done. She came back tired, pale, with stories of needles and machines and worried doctors. Do you have the results yet? I asked every day. Not yet, mother-in-law. They're very complex tests. It takes time. The children were scared. James asked me one night, Grandma, is my mum going to die? No, my sweetie. Your mum is going to be fine. The doctors will cure her. But inside, I was scared too. And then came that Tuesday, February 5th, flea market day in the neighborhood. I went to buy vegetables. Mrs. Rodriguez's stand was next to Mr. Joe's, the one who sells chicken. And there, in the middle of a conversation about the price of tomatoes, Mrs. Rodriguez told me, Hey, Mary, I saw your daughter-in-law the other day at the mall. She looked great. Very pretty. When did you see her? Last Friday. She was leaving one of those fancy clinics. A plastic surgery clinic. The world stopped. Plastic surgery? Yes, the Monteverde Clinic. My niece works there as a receptionist. She told me your daughter-in-law had a nose job. It turned out very nicely, by the way. I arrived home with the grocery bags trembling in my hands. Tanya was in the living room watching TV, eating popcorn, with her new nose. It was subtle, but now that I knew, I could see it. The tip a little more upturned, the bridge finer. Tanya, can I talk to you? Sure, mother-in-law. What's wrong? I ran into Mrs. Rodriguez at the flea market. Her face didn't change. Not a muscle. Oh, that's good. How is she? Fine. She told me she saw you leaving the Monteverde Clinic. Silence. The plastic surgery clinic, I continued in a trembling voice. Last Friday, the day you were supposedly getting your MRI. Tanya slowly put the bowl of popcorn on the table. Carefully. Mother-in-law, can I explain? Explain what? My voice came out louder than I intended. Explain that you lied to me. That you conned me out of $120,000 with a made-up illness. I didn't make up anything. I was feeling sick. You had a nose job. With my money. She stood up from the sofa with a speed that scared me. So what if I did? What's the problem? I deserve to feel good about myself too. It's not all about you and your needs. It was my money. Money I gave because I thought you were sick. I was sick. Sick with insecurity. Sick with low self-esteem. She touched her nose proudly. This surgery saved my life as much as any cancer treatment. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the nerve. I want my money back. Tanya let out a laugh, a cold laugh that chilled my blood. Your money? Mother-in-law, you gave it to me. It was a gift. There are no returns. It wasn't a gift. It was for your medical treatment. And I used it on a medical treatment. Reconstructive surgery, it's the same thing. Just then, Robert walked in. He was wearing a restaurant uniform. He had finally found a job as a waiter. What is going on here? I can hear shouting from the street. Your mother is harassing me, Tanya said with the voice of a perfect victim. She's complaining because I used the money she gave me on a surgery I needed. A surgery you needed? I turned to my son. Robert, she lied to me. She told me she had cancer. She conned me out of $120,000 to get a nose job. I expected my son to side with me, to be outraged, to confront her. But instead, he sighed tiredly. Mum, we already knew Tanya was going to get a nose job. The floor disappeared beneath my feet. What? It bothered her a lot. She'd been wanting to fix it for years. I told her to take advantage since you offered the money. I didn't offer money for a plastic surgery. I offered money because I thought she was sick. Robert approached and spoke to me as if I were a small child. Mum, does it really matter what the money was used for? At the end of the day, you helped your daughter-in-law feel better about herself. You should be proud. Proud? You lied to me. We didn't lie to you. We just didn't give you all the details. He shrugged. Besides, what were you going to do with those $120,000? Save them until you die? At least now they served a useful purpose. Tanya crossed her arms with a satisfied smile. If I were you, mother-in-law, I wouldn't make such a fuss, unless you want us to leave, because if we keep arguing like this, it will be impossible to live under the same roof. It was a threat, disguised as concern, but a threat nonetheless. And the worst part is that it worked, because the idea of being alone again, of returning to the silence of this empty house, terrified me more than losing money. All right, I whispered. Forget about it. That's what I like, Mum. Robert patted my shoulder. Tomorrow everything will be better. You'll see. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling every piece of me crumbling. My dinnerware, my memories, my money, my dignity. What was left? And more importantly, how far would I go before I disappeared completely? But what I didn't know was that Tanya and Robert weren't going to settle for $120,000, or my belongings, or my newly renovated house. No, they wanted everything. And I was about to find out exactly how far they were willing to go to get it. Because one night I went down for a glass of water, and I overheard a conversation that would change my life forever. It was February 22nd, 2:37 in the morning. I know because I looked at the clock before getting up. My throat was dry. That kind of dryness that wakes you up and won't let you go back to sleep until you drink water. I put on my robe and went down the stairs slowly. The wooden steps creak at night, and I didn't want to wake anyone. The house was dark, except for the moonlight coming through the hallway window. I was halfway to the kitchen when I heard voices. They were coming from the backyard, whispering voices. Robert and Tanya. Something in my instinct told me not to turn on the light, not to make a sound. I stood paralyzed next to the kitchen door that opens to the patio, hidden by the shadows. And if it doesn't work? It was Robert's voice. It sounded nervous. And if she refuses? She won't refuse. Tanya's voice was cold, calculating, nothing like the sweet tone she used with me. It's almost done, my love. We just need a few more months. A few more months of what? Of softening her up, of making her feel like she needs us, that she's old, that she can't manage alone anymore. I heard the sound of a cigarette lighting. Tanya smoked in secret. She thought I didn't know. In about 3 months maximum, she continued, we'll convince her to sign the house over to you. For her own security, you understand? We'll tell her that if something happens to her, if she falls, if she gets sick, it's going to be a huge legal problem, that it's better to have everything in order. My heart started pounding so hard I was afraid they would hear it. And if she suspects? Robert asked. She won't suspect. She's alone. She only has us. And besides, Tanya let out a giggle, We've already shown her who's in charge here. We threw away her things, changed her house, conned her out of money, and she didn't do anything. Absolutely nothing. She's weak, Robert, and the weak always lose. I felt my legs trembling. I leaned against the wall so I wouldn't fall. And then what? My son's voice sounded hesitant. After she signs? Afterward. Tanya exhaled the smoke. Afterward, we'll convince her that she'd be better off in a retirement home, a nursing home. There are some cheap ones around Dallas, like $4,000 a month. Nothing compared to what this property is worth. A nursing home? But Mum? Your mum has lived her life, Robert. She's had her time. She's had her happy marriage with your father. She's raised her son. And what about us? Are we going to live our whole lives cramped in small apartments, paying eternal rent, while she lives alone in this huge house? But she's my mother. And that's why we're not going to leave her on the street. We're going to pay for a nursing home. She'll be well cared for. She'll have food, a roof over her head, nurses. Her voice became harsher. Robert, this house is worth a minimum of $4 million. $4 million. Do you know what we can do with that money? There was silence. A long, heavy silence. We could buy the apartment in Manhattan we saw, Robert finally said. His voice no longer sounded hesitant. It sounded excited. The 3-bedroom one with a park view? Exactly. And we'll still have enough left over to start a business, or to invest, or for whatever we want. Tanya threw the cigarette butt and crushed it with her foot. Your mum doesn't need this space anymore. We do. We have children. We have a future. She only has the past. And if she says no? If she doesn't want to sign? Tanya laughed, a laugh that chilled me to the bone. She won't say no, because by May she'll be so worn down, so tired, so emotionally alone, that she'll sign anything just so we don't abandon her. Trust me. I know how these old women work. My grandmother was the same way. You just need to break their spirit little by little. And when they no longer have the strength to fight, they're yours. You're right. Robert's voice now sounded convinced. My mom has lived long enough. We deserve this house. Those words, my mom has lived long enough. We deserve this house. Coming out of my son's mouth. My only son, the baby I carried for 9 months, the child I nursed, the teenager I helped with homework until midnight, the young man I supported when no one else believed in him. My son, planning to steal everything from me and put me in a cheap nursing home. I felt something break inside my chest. But it wasn't my heart. It was something deeper. It was the last illusion that my family loved me. Let's go to sleep, Tanya said. Tomorrow I have to continue the perfect new wife act. It's hard work pretending I like her. They both laughed. Together. Accomplices. I heard their steps approaching the door. I moved quickly, going up the stairs as silently as I could. I reached my room just as I heard them enter the house. I got into bed. I closed my eyes. But I didn't sleep. I wouldn't sleep peacefully again for a long time. Because in that conversation, in those horrible minutes, hidden in the dark, the naive Mary died. And another was born. A Mary who understood that a mother's love wasn't enough. That kindness could be a fatal weakness. That my own son was capable of betraying me in the worst possible way. I got out of bed and sat on the edge. My hands were shaking, but my mind was strangely clear. I looked at Edward's photograph on my dresser, the only one I had left. What do I do, honey? I whispered. What would you do if you were here? And then I remembered something. Something Edward told me a week before he died. We were at the hospital. He already knew he wasn't going to leave there. Mary, When I'm gone, people will come who will want to take advantage of you, of your kindness, of your loneliness. And I need you to promise me something. Don't let them turn you into a victim. Fight. Even if it's your own blood attacking you, fight. At the time, I didn't understand why he was telling me that. I thought it was the morphine talking. But now I understood. Edward knew. He knew our son better than I wanted to admit. I got up and went to my closet. At the back, behind the boxes where Tanya had stored my things, there was a small safe. I opened it with the combination only I knew. Inside were the house documents, the deeds, the will papers, everything. And there was also a business card. Arthur Peterson, attorney at law, notary public, Edward's best friend, the lawyer who helped us with all our legal matters for 30 years. I grabbed the card and held it between my fingers. It was 3:00, 15 minutes in the morning. But it didn't matter, because at that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be a victim. I wasn't going to end up in a cheap nursing home while my son and his wife enjoyed my house. I wasn't going to let them erase me. I was going to fight. But I wasn't going to fight by yelling. I wasn't going to fight by crying. I wasn't going to make dramatic scenes. I was going to fight in silence. I was going to plan. I was going to wait. And when the perfect moment arrived, I was going to slam the door in their faces, literally and figuratively. I lay down again, this time with a strange sense of calm, because for the first time in 3 months I was in control. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to find out. Because while Tanya and Robert slept peacefully that night, sure of their perfect plan, I was awake in the dark, transforming. The weak woman they had known was dying, and in her place, someone new was born. Someone who was going to show them that underestimating a 68-year-old woman was the worst mistake of their lives. The next morning, I went down to breakfast as usual. I put on my flowered robe. I made myself a coffee. I heated some toast. Tanya walked into the kitchen, yawning, in her expensive silk pajamas that she had bought with my money. "Good morning, mother-in-law. Did you sleep well?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw what she was. A predator. A woman who had studied my every move, my every weakness, and turned them into weapons. But she didn't know that I could learn too. "Very well, honey. And you?" Like a rock, she poured herself coffee. "Listen, mother-in-law. I was thinking, how about we start looking at options for senior living facilities? Not to move out now, of course, just to have options, in case you ever need them." There it was, starting to plant the seed. 2 days ago, I would have panicked. I would have asked why. I would have cried. But the Mary of yesterday died in the darkness at 2:37 a.m. "You know what, Tanya? You're right. At my age, you never know. It would be good to be prepared." Her face lit up with surprise and satisfaction. "Really, that's great that you're taking it maturely, mother-in-law. Most people your age resist these topics." "Well, I'm not most people," I smiled, a small smile. "You have to be practical." When Tanya went up to shower, I took out my cell phone and dialed the number on the card. "Law Office of Mr. Peterson. Good morning. This is Mary Sanders, widow of Cortez. I need to schedule an urgent appointment with the attorney, but it has to be at his office, not my house. And please, make it today if possible." "One moment, ma'am." Pause. "The attorney can see you at 4:00 this afternoon." "Perfect. I'll be there." I hung up just as Robert walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, ma'am. Who were you talking to?" "To the doctor's office. They reminded me that I have an appointment for my routine checkup." I lied, so naturally that I surprised myself. "Oh, that's good. Do you want me to go with you?" No, son. I know you have to work. I can go alone. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I left the house. I took an Uber to Mr. Peterson's office in the Upper East Side. The secretary showed me in immediately. The attorney stood up from his desk when he saw me. He was 70 years old, with completely white hair, and those eyes that had seen everything. Mrs. Mary, he gave me a sincere hug. It's been a while. Edward would be happy to know you finally looked me up. He finally pointed to a chair and sat down across from me. Edward asked me to look out for you when he was gone. He made me promise that if you ever needed legal help, I would be there. 5 years have passed, and this is the first time you've called me. He paused. So tell me, what is going on? And I told him everything. Absolutely everything. The changes in the house, the sold dinnerware, the $120,000 for the fake surgery. And finally, the conversation I overheard on the patio. The attorney took notes. His face showed no surprise, only a professional sadness. Do you have proof of the conversation? No, I didn't record it, but I know what I heard. I understand. He put down his pen. Mrs. Mary, what your son and daughter-in-law are planning has a name: aggravated financial elder abuse. It is a crime, but we need concrete evidence. How do I get that evidence? He leaned back in his chair. You need a recording, a conversation where their plan is clear, and you need to document everything. The objects they have sold without your permission, the money they conned you out of, everything. I have bank receipts for the $120,000 and photos of the dinnerware before they sold it. Excellent. That's a start. Now, about the house. He took out a folder and started explaining legal options to me. Trusts, living wills, deeds with legal locks. What I recommend is creating an irrevocable trust. The house remains in your name under legal protection. You can live there as long as you want. And you can designate beneficiaries who only receive the property under specific conditions that you establish. Like what? Such as the beneficiaries can only receive the house when they reach a certain age, or that they can never sell it, or that if you are admitted to a nursing home without your consent, the trust is voided and the house passes to someone else. A spark of hope ignited in my chest. And my son couldn't do anything? Absolutely nothing. Once the trust is established, not even a judge can modify it without your explicit consent. How long does it take? If you authorize me, I can have the documents ready in a week, but I need you to bring me the original deeds. I have them at home, in a safe. Perfect. And one more thing, Mrs. Mary. He leaned forward. I need you to act normal. Don't raise any suspicion. Keep being the same Mary they know, because if they suspect you're planning something, they'll accelerate their plan, and that complicates things for us. I nodded. Can I do it? I know you can. Edward always told me you were much stronger than you looked. You just never had to prove it. I left the office with a folder full of documents and, for the first time in months, with something I had forgotten existed. Hope. But I also left with a mission. I needed that recording. That night, while we ate dinner, I acted perfectly normal. I smiled. I served the food. I asked about everyone's day. Tanya looked at me with approval. You look happy today, mother-in-law. Did something good happen? Only that the doctor said I'm in great health for my age. I still have years ahead of me. I saw her smile freeze for a fraction of a second. Years ahead of me didn't fit into their plans. That's great, mother-in-law, that's great. The next day, I went to visit Connie, my neighbour. Connie, I need your help. Anything, Mary. What do you need? I need to learn how to use a recorder. One of those small ones that can be hidden. Connie didn't ask questions. She had known me for 30 years. She knew that if I asked for something like that, it was for a good reason. My grandson gave me one last year because I'm afraid of forgetting things. I've never used it. It's yours. She taught me how to operate it. It was the size of a USB drive. It could be hidden anywhere, and it recorded with impressive clarity. Thanks, friend. Are you in trouble? I was in trouble. Now I'm in solutions. During the following week, I went to the lawyer's office 3 more times. I brought the deeds, signed documents, and established the trust. And every night, I left the recorder on in different places in the house. In the living room, in the dining room, on the patio. I recorded conversations between Robert and Tanya, talking about speeding up the process, about putting more pressure on the old lady, about how much longer they were going to tolerate living there. And finally, one night, I recorded pure gold. They were in their room. They thought I was already asleep. The recorder was hidden behind a plant pot in the hallway, right outside their door. Tanya said in a clear, audible voice, "It's almost done, my love. In a few more months, we'll convince her to sign the house over to you. This old woman, alone, she needs us. Then we can put her in a cheap nursing home and sell this property. It's easily worth $4 million. We'll have enough for the apartment in Manhattan we want." And Robert replied, "You're right. My mum has lived long enough. We deserve this house." It was almost identical to the conversation I had overheard weeks earlier, but now I had it recorded, with the date, with the time, with their unmistakable voices. The next day, I took the recording to Mr. Peterson. He listened to it completely, twice. Then he nodded. "This is enough, more than enough." "What's next?" "Now we wait. Your trust is ready. The documents are registered. Legally, your house is protected. But I want us to have a moment of maximum impact. A moment where they show their true nature in front of witnesses." "How?" "Provoke them. Do something that forces them to show their true colors. And when they do, I'll be there." I thought about it for 2 days. What could I do that would force them to reveal their plan? And then it occurred to me. On March 14th, during dinner, I casually said, "Robert, Tanya, I've been thinking. You're right. At my age, maintaining this house is a lot of work. Maybe I should consider moving to a retirement home, and you could keep the property." Tanya's eyes lit up like Christmas trees. "Really, mother-in-law? Are you serious?" "Completely. In fact, I saw some very nice residences. There's one in Queens that looks lovely." Robert took my hand. "Mum, that's a very mature decision on your part. I'm proud of you. I just need you to help me with the paperwork. We have to transfer the deed to the house. Mr. Peterson can help us. Should we call him?" "Yes," Tanya practically screamed with excitement. "Call him tomorrow." "In fact, I already spoke with him. He can come on Monday, March 15th, at 10 o'clock in the morning." "Perfect," Robert said. "We'll be here." That night, I heard their celebrations from my room. Champagne, laughter, plans. And I, in my bed, smiled in the dark. Because they thought they had won. They didn't know that the real game was just beginning. Monday, March 15th, dawned sunny. Tanya got up early. She dressed up as if she were going to a wedding. Robert put on a suit. They were both electric with excitement. But what they didn't know was that I had changed the locks on Sunday night, and that Mr. Peterson wasn't coming to transfer the house to them. He was coming to show them that they had messed with the wrong person. On Sunday night, March 14th, after everyone had fallen asleep, I did something I never thought I would do. I called an emergency locksmith. "Can you come now?" I asked in a low voice from my room. Mom, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'll pay you triple, but it has to be now, and it has to be quiet. He arrived at 11 o'clock 30 minutes, a man in his 40s with his toolbox. I explained the situation to him in whispers. I need you to change all the locks in the house. The front door, the back door, the garage door, all of them. Doesn't your family have keys? That's exactly why I'm changing them. He looked at me with those eyes that had seen everything and nodded. I understand, Mom. It's not the first time I've been called for something like this. He worked for 2 hours. The sound of his tools was minimal, but every noise put my heart in my throat. I was afraid Robert or Tanya would wake up, but they didn't. At 1 o'clock 30 minutes in the morning, the locksmith finished. He handed me 4 sets of new keys. Done, ma'am. These are the only keys that exist. The old ones are no longer any good. I paid him $4,500 in cash, money I had withdrawn from the bank during the week without anyone knowing. Thank you, and please, if anyone asks you, I wasn't here. He winked at me. Take care, Mom, and whatever you're planning, I wish you luck. When he left, I sat in the dark living room. My house, with new locks that only I could open. It was a symbol, an act of resistance. I called Mr. Peterson. It's done. Perfect. I'll arrive tomorrow at 6 o'clock 30 minutes in the morning, before they wake up. You open the back door for me, as we agreed, and I'll stay inside until the moment is right. And if this goes wrong? It won't go wrong, Mrs. Mary, trust me, and trust yourself. Tomorrow you get your life back. I slept 3 hours that night, but not out of fear, out of anticipation. The morning arrived. Robert and Tanya got up early, excited. Tanya put on a wine-coloured dress, heels, perfect makeup. She looked like she was going to sign a multi-million-dollar contract, which, in her mind, she was. Good morning, mother-in-law. She hugged me with a fake enthusiasm that I could now see with total clarity. What an important day. I'm so happy you're making this decision. It's best for everyone. Yes, honey. Best for everyone. Robert came down in his grey suit, the same one he wore for weddings and important events. Mum, did you eat breakfast yet? Do you want me to make something special? No, son. I already ate something light. Nerves, you know. It's normal to be nervous, but you'll see, everything will go well. He took my hands. You're going to be in a nice place, with people your age, with 24-hour medical care. And we'll visit you often. I promise. Lies. All lies. But now I could identify them as if they had a shining label on them. I know, my love. I trust you. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Tanya started getting anxious. What time did he say he was arriving? The attorney? At 10 o'clock. Ah, there's still time. She sat down. She got up. She walked toward the window. She checked her cell phone. I'm so nervous. Nervous about what? I asked with perfect innocence. Well, about the whole process. It's a big step for you, mother-in-law. At 9 o'clock 30 minutes, the doorbell rang. Tanya practically jumped off the sofa. He's early, that's great. I'll open it. But when she got to the door and turned the knob, it didn't open. Mother-in-law, the door is locked. Oh yes, I locked it last night. I'm coming now. I approached slowly. I looked through the peephole. It wasn't Mr. Peterson. It was a neighbour selling cookies. It's not him. It's Mrs. Sherrill. Aren't you going to open it? No, I already ate breakfast. Thank you. Tanya looked at me strangely, but didn't say anything. At exactly 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang again. This time it was the attorney. but he was accompanied by a younger man with a briefcase, and Robert and Tanya were already running toward the door from inside. "Mother-in-law, open up! They're here!" But I didn't move. "Mother-in-law, what are you doing? Open it!" In a moment. In a moment, they're ringing the doorbell. Robert came closer and tried to open it. He turned the knob. Nothing. He tried with his key. It didn't work. "Mum, my key doesn't work." "Oh, that's right. I forgot to tell you. I changed the locks last night." Absolute silence. "What?" Tanya looked at me with wide eyes. "Why would you change the locks?" "For security. At my age, you never know." The doorbell kept ringing, now insistently. "Mother-in-law, open the damn door," Tanya screamed. "Don't talk to me like that, Tanya." "Open the door." Robert tried to calm down. "Mum, please, the attorney is outside. We're going to sign the papers. Remember?" "Yes, I remember perfectly." And then I didn't open the door. I let them ring and ring and ring. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Tanya started losing her composure. "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" Robert dialed his cell phone, probably trying to call the attorney to apologize. 15 minutes later, the ringing stopped. Tanya's face was red with fury. "We missed the appointment. The attorney left. Are you happy?" "Calm down, Tanya. Everything is under control." "Under control? You ruined everything." "I didn't ruin anything. In fact, I looked at my watch. Everything is going according to plan." "What plan?" Robert looked at me, confused. Just then I heard the back door open. Steps I knew. Dress shoes on the kitchen tile. Robert and Tanya turned around, and there was Mr. Peterson entering from the hallway in his impeccable suit and his leather briefcase. "Good morning, everyone. Pardon the delay." Robert and Tanya's faces were a sight to behold. Confusion, shock, incipient fear. "How? How did you get in?" Tanya stammered. "Through the back door. Mrs. Mary gave me access a few minutes ago." Robert looked at me. "Mum, what is going on?" "Sit down," I said with a calm I didn't know I had. "It's time for us to talk. For real. No lies." "No lies?" Tanya let out a nervous laugh. "We haven't lied to you, mother-in-law." "Oh no?" I pulled my small recorder out of my sweater pocket. "Then explain this to me." I pressed play. Tanya's voice filled the room. "It's almost done, my love. In a few more months, we'll convince her to sign the house over to you. She's old, alone, she needs us. Then we can put her in a cheap nursing home and sell this property. It's easily worth $4 million. Tanya's face went white as a sheet. And then Robert's voice. "You're right. My mum has lived long enough. We deserve this house." Robert collapsed onto the sofa. Literally, his legs wouldn't hold him. "Mum, Can you explain that to me, son?" My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't shake. I wasn't shaking. "Can you explain how I deserve to be in a cheap nursing home while you live in my house?" Tanya regained her composure with impressive speed. She was a survivor, a fighter. But this time she was fighting a losing battle. "That recording is illegal. You can't use it." Mr. Peterson intervened with a professional voice. "Actually, ma'am, in the United States, it is completely legal to record conversations on private property when the owner of the property believes there is an intent to commit fraud or illegal seizure, and this recording is perfectly admissible in a court of law." "There is no fraud," Tanya said, raising her voice. "We took care of her. We gave her company. This house would be empty and sad without us." "You took care of me?" I laughed, a bitter laugh. Is selling my dinnerware without permission taking care of me? Is throwing away my late husband's jazz records taking care of me? Is conning me out of $120,000 with a fake illness taking care of me? Robert covered his face with his hands. Mum, please. Please what, Robert? Please forget that my only son, the child I gave everything to, planned to throw me away like trash in a nursing home while taking everything your father and I built. Tears started to roll down my cheeks, but they weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of liberation. For 3 months, you made me feel like I was crazy, that I was selfish, that I was a bitter old woman who couldn't let go of the past. You made me doubt myself to the point of believing that you were right. Tanya tried to approach. Mother-in-law, we can fix this. Don't touch me. I took a step back. Don't you ever touch me again. Don't you ever call me mother-in-law again as if we were family. Because family doesn't destroy. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't plan to put their own flesh and blood in a cheap nursing home to take their house. Mr. Peterson opened his briefcase. I think it's time to hand over the official documents. He took out a thick folder and handed it to Robert, who took it with trembling hands. What is this? Read. Take your time. Robert opened the folder. Tanya leaned over to read over his shoulder, and I saw the exact moment they understood, the moment their perfect plan fell apart. But what those papers contained wasn't just a legal blow. It was the end of a game they should never have started. And what I was about to tell them was going to change their lives forever. Robert read the first page, then the second. His eyes moved faster and faster with mounting panic. Tanya snatched the papers from his hands. This can't be. This can't be real. It is completely real, Mr. Peterson said, with that professional calm he had perfected in 40 years of practice. Certified by a notary public, registered with the county recorder's office on March 10th of this year. Completely legal and irrevocable. Irrevocable? Tanya looked up. What does irrevocable mean? It means it can't be changed, I replied. It means this house is no longer freely in my name. It is protected in a trust that I control. And you can't touch it. Robert let the papers fall to the floor. His face had turned from white to green. Mum, what did you do? What I should have done from the beginning. Protect myself. From you. The attorney continued in a firm voice. The property located at 328 Elm Street, Riverdale, is under an irrevocable trust in the name of Mrs. Mary Elizabeth Sanders, widow of Cortez. She maintains a life estate, meaning she can live here until her death. The beneficiaries of the trust are her grandchildren, Valerie and James, who will receive the property when they turn 25, with the express condition that they can never sell it. It must remain in the family. That's unfair, Tanya screamed. Robert is your son. He should inherit. Robert lost that right when he planned to steal from me. We weren't going to steal from you. We were going to take care of you in a retirement home. I took another paper from my pocket. I had printed it the night before. Are you referring to the St. Joseph Senior Residence in New Jersey, the one that costs $4,000 a month and has a 1-star rating online, where the complaints talk about rotten food, abuse, and medical negligence? Tanya opened her mouth. She closed it. She had no answer. I researched, Tanya. I researched everything. I know exactly what kind of place you planned to send me to while you lived in Beverly Hills or Manhattan. Robert finally found his voice. It sounded broken, desperate. Mum, please. We're family. We can fix this. I was just scared. About the money, about the future. Tanya pressured me and Now you're blaming your wife, I interrupted him. Very brave of you, Robert. Very brave. Tanya exploded. This was his idea. He was the one who said we deserved the house. He was the one who researched the cheap nursing homes. I just followed his plan. And there it was, the mutual betrayal, destroying each other right before my eyes. I don't care whose idea it was, I said with a coldness that surprised even me. You both planned it. You both lied to me. You both stole from me. You are both equally guilty. Mr. Peterson pulled out more documents. Now, let's move on to the matter of financial restitution. Mrs. Tanya, you obtained $120,000 under false pretenses, specifically by lying about a serious illness. That constitutes fraud. Mrs. Mary has two options. Proceed legally with a lawsuit for fraud, or you return the full amount within 30 days. I don't have $120,000, Tanya shrieked. I already spent it. Then we will have to proceed legally. Fraud can result in 6 months to 5 years in prison, according to the Penal Code of New York State. Tanya turned to Robert. Say something. Do something. She's your mother. But Robert was paralyzed, in complete shock. The attorney continued relentlessly. Furthermore, there is the matter of the unauthorized sale of private property. The China dinnerware had an estimated value of $45,000. It was sold without the owner's consent. That is aggravated theft. She told me I could sell it, Tanya lied desperately. I have witnesses who say otherwise, and I have photographs of the dinnerware with their original dates that prove they were Mrs. Mary's property for 15 years. Tanya started pacing like a caged animal. This is a nightmare. A damn nightmare. No, I said firmly. This is justice. Mr. Peterson closed his briefcase with a definitive snap. Mrs. Mary, do you wish to proceed with the lawsuits, or would you prefer to give them the option of voluntary restitution? I looked at Robert. My son. My only son. The child I had carried in my arms. The teenager I had comforted when his first love left him. The man I had supported in every decision. And I saw what he really was. A coward. A manipulator. A thief. I want them to leave. Mom. Robert stood up. Please don't do this. You have 48 hours to get out of this house. You can take your clothes, your electronic devices, your personal belongings. Nothing else. Everything else stays here. And where are we going to live? Tanya asked hysterically. We have children. You should have thought of that before you planned to destroy me. I felt tears well up, but I didn't let them fall. You have family, friend, a car, jobs. You'll find something. Just like you found a way to lie to me for 3 months. Mother-in-law, please, don't call me that. You are no longer my daughter-in-law. And he, I pointed to Robert, is no longer my son. Robert fell to his knees. Literally. He knelt before me with his hands clasped. Mum, forgive me. Please. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. I was desperate. Tanya pressured me and I didn't think. I didn't see the consequences. But I love you. You are my mother. You always will be. If you loved me, Robert, you wouldn't have planned to put me in a nursing home as if I were trash. If you loved me, you would have defended your father's memory instead of letting her throw away everything he and I built. I can change. We can change. Give me a chance. I gave you your chance. I gave you 3 months of chances. Every time you threw away something of mine, every time you lied, every time you made me feel guilty for existing, those were chances, and you wasted all of them. I turned to the attorney. Regarding the $120,000, I'm giving them 30 days to return it. If not, I will proceed legally. Tanya let out a scream of frustration and ran toward the stairs. Robert remained kneeling, crying like a child. Get up, Robert. You're no longer a child. You are a 43-year-old man. It's time for you to act like one. He stood up slowly. His eyes were red, swollen. And the kids? Valerie and James? Are you never going to see them again? That question hurt me. It hurt me deeply. I love them, and that's why the house is in a trust for them. But I'm not going to let you use them as emotional hostages. The attorney gently touched my shoulder. Mrs. Mary, if you need a moment. No, I'm fine. I took a deep breath. Robert, you have until Wednesday, March 17th, at 6 o'clock in the evening, to vacate. If you don't do so voluntarily, the attorney will proceed with legal eviction. And believe me, you don't want it to come to that. Robert nodded weakly. He went up the stairs, dragging his feet. The attorney and I stayed in the living room. The silence was dense, heavy. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Mary? Do you think Edward would be proud of me? The attorney smiled sadly. Edward would be more than proud. He told me once, if anything happens to me, Mary will need time to find her strength, but when she finds it, she'll be unstoppable. He was right. The tears finally fell, but they weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of liberation. Thank you for helping me. It's an honor, Mrs. Mary. That night, lying in bed, I heard the movement upstairs. Boxes, suitcases, crying, arguments. And I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. It wasn't a cheerful peace. It was a painful, sad, bittersweet peace. But it was peace. Because for the first time in 3 months, I had taken control of my own life. I looked at Edward's photograph on my bureau. I did it, honey. I fought, like you asked me to. And I swear that at that moment, I felt his presence, like an invisible hug, like a whisper that said, I'm proud of you, Mary. I always was. The next day, Connie came to visit me. She brought me hot tea and donuts. How do you feel? Like I survived a war. You survived, friend, and you won. It doesn't feel like victory, it feels like loss. Because you love your son, and that will never change. She took my hand. But sometimes love means letting go. It means setting boundaries. It means saying, I love you, but I won't let you destroy me. She was right. On Tuesday, Valerie came down to the kitchen, alone. Her eyes were red from crying so much. Grandma, can I talk to you? Of course, my sweetie. Sit down. She sat down and for a long moment said nothing. She just looked at her hands. I knew, she finally whispered. What did you know, my love? I knew what my parents were planning. I heard conversations. I saw how they treated your things, and I didn't say anything. Tears started to fall. Forgive me, Grandma. I should have told you. I should have defended you, but I was afraid my parents would be angry with me. I hugged her tightly. It's not your fault, Valerie. You're a child. It's not your responsibility to fix the mistakes of adults. But I feel so bad. I know. Me too. But I want you to know something. I held her face so she would look at me. This house will be yours and your brother's someday. And when that happens, I want you to remember. Dignity is worth more than any property. Respect is worth more than any inheritance. And true love never destroys. Valerie hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I love you, Grandma. A lot. And I love you, my sweetie. Always. On Wednesday, March 17th, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a moving truck parked in front of the house. Robert and Tanya loaded their things in silence. The children were sad, confused. James hugged me before getting into the car. "Are we not going to see you anymore, Grandma?" "Of course you're going to see me. When you want to visit me, just call. This is your house as much as it is mine." At 10 minutes to 6 o'clock, Robert approached. He had an envelope in his hand. "This is $30,000. It's all I could gather. I'll pay the rest back little by little. I swear, Mum." I took the envelope. "You have 30 days to complete the $120,000, not 1 day more." "I know." He looked down. "Mum, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what we did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that I'm sorry. Truly." "I know, Robert. But being sorry doesn't undo the damage. Being sorry doesn't bring back the memories you destroyed. Being sorry doesn't erase the words you said." "I know." His voice broke. Someday will you be able to forgive me?" I looked him in the eyes. My son, my traitor. "I don't know. Maybe. With time. With a lot of time. But for now, I need you to leave. I need to heal. And I can't do it with you here." He nodded. A tear rolled down his cheek. "Goodbye, Mum." "Goodbye, Robert." He got into the car. Tanya didn't even look at me. He drove off with a squeal of tires. And they were gone. I stood at the entrance of my house, watching the car disappear around the corner. Connie appeared next to me. "Are you okay?" "No, but I will be." That night, I ate dinner alone in my dining room. But it wasn't a sad dinner. I made myself green chicken enchiladas, the way my mother taught me. I put on music, Edward's jazz. The songs I had downloaded on my cell phone because Tanya had thrown away the originals. And as I ate, I looked at my house. The walls were still grey, but I could paint them again. The curtains were still missing, but I could sew new ones. The memories had been destroyed, but I could create others. Because that's what strong women do. We don't give up. We don't break. We rebuild ourselves. Epilogue. 3 months later. It was June. The cherry blossom trees on my street were in bloom, filling the air with that purple colour Edward loved so much. I had repainted the walls. Peach again. I had sewn new curtains with embroidered flowers. I had put photographs of Edward all over the house. And something else. I had started to live. I took painting classes at the Community Cultural Centre. I met other women my age. Women with similar stories. Women who had also survived family betrayals. We became friends. We supported each other. We reminded each other that we were more than mothers, more than wives, more than caregivers. We were ourselves. One June afternoon, my cell phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Grandma?" It was Valerie. "My sweetie, how are you?" "Good. Well, not so good. Mum and Dad got divorced." My heart stopped. "What?" "Mum left. She said she didn't want to be with Dad anymore, that he had betrayed her, that everything was his fault. She left with another man, one she met at the gym." Her voice broke. "And we're living in a horrible apartment in Brooklyn with Dad. It's small, dark. It smells bad. Oh, my love. But I'm not calling to ask you to take us in again. I know we can't come back. I just wanted to hear your voice and tell you that you were right. About everything. Mum never loved us, did she? She just wanted the money, the house. And Dad was really stupid, really weak." She cried. "I miss you, Grandma. so much. I miss you too, my sweetie. Every day. Can I come visit you sometime? You can come whenever you want. This was always your house. Thank you, Grandma. I love you. And I love you, my love. Always. I hung up and stared at the phone for a long time. Tanya had left. Like snakes. She had found another victim, another plan, another opportunity, and Robert was paying the consequences of his decisions. I didn't feel joy, but I didn't feel guilt either. I felt acceptance. Sometimes life teaches us the hard way, and sometimes people have to lose everything to understand the value of what they had. That night, sitting on my patio under the stars, drinking chamomile tea, I reflected on everything that had happened. I had lost my son, at least temporarily, but I had gained something more valuable: myself. Because I learned that love without respect is not love. It's slavery. I learned that true family doesn't tear you down. It builds you up. I learned that at 68 you still have the right to defend your dignity. And I learned that it's never too late to say, enough is enough. Because true wealth is not in what you own. It's in what you don't allow them to take away from you. Your dignity, your peace, your right to live without fear in your own house. And that is priceless. And so ends my story. A story I never thought I would live, a story that broke my heart, but also gave me strength I didn't know I had. If this story touched your soul, if it made you reflect on your own boundaries, on your own family, on your own dignity, let me know in the comments. Tell me, where are you watching this story? What country or city are you joining me from? I would love to know that these words reached your heart, no matter where you are. And if you know someone who is going through something similar, share this story. Because sometimes, knowing we are not alone is what gives us the courage to fight. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories of life, of overcoming, of women who refused to be victims. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve to live with dignity. We all deserve to be treated with respect. And we all deserve to close doors that hurt us, even if they are the doors of our own family. Thank you for staying with me until the end. See you in the next story. Warmly, Mary.